Welcome to Africa Unveiled. Ayinla, the legendary tale.
The golden city battered the red heart of Abeokuta as the voice of traders filled the morning air. At the center of the town, wares rolled from Ijayi, Agoba, Itokun, Lafenwa, Ìsàlẹ̀ Ìgbẹ̀yìn, and Ake converged stood the vibrant marketplace of Sapon. The market was more than just a trading hub. It was the heartbeat of the town, where stories were exchanged like currency and where the hungry found solace in the aroma of steaming delicacy. Among the many food sellers, one name echoed through the alleys, Madame Janet Ewusi Odesola. She was not just a bean seller, she was a legend in the making. Born in the year 1925, Madame Janet had known hardship from a young age. She had started as a seller of dried fish, but faced had greater plans for her. In 1951, she turned to selling cooked beans, a humble meal that would one day make her famous. Her store was simple: a large clay pot sat upon burning firewood, emitting an irresistible scent of freshly cooked beans stewed in palm oil and seasoned with the wisdom of her years. People from all walks of life, kings, government officials, market women, and travelers, flocked to her store. They called it elewasapon, a dish so rich that one taste lingered in memory like an unforgettable song. One fateful day, a well-dressed man approached her store and asked for more beans than he could pay for. Madam Janet smiled and shook her head. "A kì í fi ọwọ́ kan fi móúnjẹ," she said, meaning one does not eat with just one hand. Unite and balance are key to success. She reminded him that survival was about fairness and knowing one's limit. The crowd laughed knowingly, for her wisdom was a feeling. But it wasn't just the taste of her beans that made her legend. It was the way she conducted her business, the shape with which she conducted her customer, and the unforgettable word that would become a phrase known across generations. The story of Shebeotimo Elewasapon was only just beginning. The evening sun painted the sky in a hue of orange and gold as Mama Janet packed up her store for the day. Her pot was empty once again, a testament to how beloved her beans had become. She wiped her hands of her wrapper and nodded in satisfaction. Business was thriving, but the weight of unpaid debt troubled her heart. As days turned into weeks, she noticed a pattern. Many customers will return asking for beans on credit, promise to pay her later. At first, she was generous, believing that time were hard for everyone. But soon, the list of debtors grew too long, and the promised payment never came. One day, a young man, famished and desperate, approached her store. "Mama Janet, please, just a little bowl. I swear I'll pay tomorrow," he pleaded. She sighed deeply and said, "We first build trust with words, not food." The gathered crowd murmured in agreement. From that day on, she devised a new rule: no more credit. If a person had only 10 kobo, she would sell them 10 kobo worth of beans. If they begged for more, she would simply say, Sebo reminding them to cut their coats according to their clothes. At first, some grumbled, but over time, people began to respect her decision. The phrase "Shebo elewasapon" spread beyond the marketplace, becoming a saying among Abeokuta people. It was a lesson of it was a lesson in prudence, discipline, and self-reliance. Little did Mama Janet know she had bettered a phrase that will echo for generations. The following week tested Mama Janet's resolve. The shift in her business policy stirred murmurs among the traders of Sapon. Many had grown accustomed to buying on credit, and her sudden refusal was not well received. Some attempted to change her decision, hoping she would reconsider. One morning, a group of regulars gathered in front of her store. A tall man with a worn-out agbada crossed his arm and scoffed, "Mama Janet, dis your new rule no go work oo. We don dey do things like dis for years. You wan change am overnight?" Mama Janet remained calm as she stirred her steaming pot without looking up. She said, "Whoever wants to eat honey from a jar must be willing to get their hands sticky." She knew that enforcing change was never easy, but she also knew that discipline was necessary for growth. Her word lingered in the air as some nodded in understanding. The truth in her proverb was undeniable. If they wanted to enjoy her beans, they had to adjust to her rule. As days passed, the resistance weakened. Hunger has a way of humbling even the most stubborn of man. Eventually, the same critics who opposed her new system found themselves digging into their pockets, counting their coins, and buying only what they could afford. Hmm. Madam Janet smiled to herself. Change was never immediate, but it was inevitable. One fateful afternoon, a young apprentice named Tunde approached Mama Janet's store. He had heard of her famous elewasapon, but had little money in his pocket. "Mama, Mama Janet, I fit buy beans of 5 kobo?" he asked, hopefully but embarrassed. Mama Janet nodded and scooped exactly 5 kobo worth into a leaf, handing it over with a smile. As Tunde turned to leave, another customer, a wealthy merchant, laughed mockingly. "Why disgrace yourself? Better to eat nothing than to buy just a handful." Without hesitation, Madam Janet looked up and said, "Òkété tí ò ní ọwọ́ kó má ṣe bú Ọlọ́run tí ò fún ní ọkọ́." A rodent without hand should not curse the gods for not giving it a hoe. The crowd erupted into laughter, but Tunde understood the wisdom behind her word. It was not about how much he could afford, but about knowing his limits and living with them. Hmm. From that day on, people began to appreciate the deeper lesson behind Sebiotimọ elewasapon. It was not just about the beans, it was a philosophy of life, a call for financial wisdom and self-control. As the sun began to set, Mama Janet stood empty once again. She smiled, knowing she was not just selling food, she was feeding the mind of her people. One evening, An old man named Baba Adebayo stopped by Mama Janet's store. He had watched her from far distance, admiring her discipline and the way she managed her business. "Young woman, you remind me of the old ways," he said. "A kì í fi àgò méjì ṣomi," meaning one does not pour water into two cups at once. He explained that just like water cannot be shared between two cups without spilling, a person must focus on what they can handle. Mama Janet nodded, realizing that she was on the right path. Her reputation continued to grow, and soon her wisdom spread beyond Sapon. The money was low, and Madam Janet found herself staring at her half-filled pot of beans. Patience was a virtue she had learned over the years, but today it would be tested. A wealthy merchant known for his extravagant spending approached her store. "Madam Janet, give me a full bowl. I'll pay you double tomorrow," he boasted. She chuckled and replied, "Ìfarabalẹ̀ lẹ̀kọ́ àgbà, ẹni tí ò ẹni tí ó fọkàn balẹ̀ ló ń gbọ́lọ́run gbọ́," meaning patience is the lesson of the elders. Only those who remain patient have faith in God. The merchant scuffled but respected the result. She continued her business knowing that true success requires patience and discipline. The market was unusually quiet when a stranger arrived in Sapon. He had travelled from Ibadan, following tales of elewasapon. He approached Mama Janet's store with curiosity, and their meeting would change her life forever. The man, dressed in simple yet elegant attire, observed the bustling market before approaching Mama Janet's store. "Good afternoon, ma," he greeted with a warm smile. "Good afternoon, sir. How may I help you?" Madam Janet responded. Her eyes reflected years of wisdom. "I have heard of tales of your famous beans all the way in Ibadan and decided to see for myself," he said, taking a seat. Madam Janet served him a generous portion as he ate. His face lit up with delight. "This is indeed the best I've ever tasted," he exclaimed. After finishing his meal, the man revealed his identity. He was a renowned food critic and writer. "I would love to feature your story and recipe in my upcoming book about Nigeria's finest cuisine," he proposed. Madam Janet was taken back. I'm honored, but I'm just a simple bee seller," she replied humbly. "Your simplicity is your strength. There's a proverb that says, 'Ẹni bá dúpẹ́ orí àná, á rí òmíràn gbà,' meaning he who is grateful for a past kindness will receive another. Your dedication and humility have brought you this unexpected blessing," he explained. Touched by his word, Madam Janet agreed. The publication of her story brought an influx of visitors to Sapon, all eager to taste her legendary beans. Her humble stall became a symbol of perseverance and the reward of her gratitude. Years passed, and Madam Janet's store remained a landmark in Sapon. Generations grew hearing the tale of elewasapon and the wise woman who refused to sell on credit. Her story became a lesson in financial discipline, self-worth, and the power of setting boundaries. One day, an elderly man approached her store, watching the young customer count their coins before purchasing. He smiled and said, "Mama Janet, Your wisdom has shaped this town more than you know. Today, even our children know Shebi. She chuckled and wiped her hands of her wrapper. um Ojú tó bá máa rókè kò gbọdọ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí í wòsàlẹ̀, meaning eyes that will see the mountain top must not start by looking at the ground. Her discipline had lifted her beyond the struggles of debt, and her legacy has risen above mere business. Years passed and Mama Janet's store remained a landmark in Sapon. Generation grew up hearing the tales of elewasapon and the wise woman who refused to sell on credit. Her story became a lesson in financial discipline, self-worth, and the power of setting boundaries. Until Madam Janet continued selling her beans until old age slowed her down. Eventually, she retired, passing her store to her daughter, who carried on the tradition with the same discipline and wisdom. To these days, whenever people in Abeokuta caution against living beyond one's means, they say Shebi elewasapon. The legendary of Madam Janet Adesola live on, forever etched in the history of Sapon. Thank you for following, for subscribing to Africa Unveiled. Ayinla, the legendary tales. Kindly comment on the comment section, like and share so that I'll be able to do more research on the legends. Thank you and see you in my next episode.